Salinas, do you have a motion to offer?
Yes, I want to make a motion. I've been asked, Economic Development Corporation, we had in our budget for $130,000. We had that transferred over to us.
To do what? What's
Give
the
them
motion?
$130,000 to the Economic Development.
That's fully fund the local development corporation.
Budget, yeah.
Okay. Do I have a second on that? Do I have a second on that? Seeing no second, we cannot move forward on that. So that local development corporation will not be funded this calendar year. Our next item of business is the recent resignations of Mr. Ricky and Mr. Sanderson from this board. Have we received written confirmation of their resignations?
Yes,
Both?
we have on both, yes.
Okay, so I would make a motion that this board, I'm going to do them separately. I would make a motion that this board accepts the resignation of Mr. Sanderson.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. I would make a motion to accept the resignation of Mr. Ricky. I have a second on that.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? My vote is an aye also. All opposed? Motion passes. So I guess the reason for the special meeting is, Pat, I'm going to hand it over to you, and can you give us some rules to follow when looking for replacement for these two board members?
Okay, so you have two vacancies on a board of 5. So that leaves, obviously, there's 3 of you here today. 3, the majority of 5 is the minimum amount for a quorum for the board to meet to take any action. But also, because it is the minimum number of a majority of this board, 3 votes is required in order to take any action. So, for instance, the resignations, which you just had the motion to accept, if that was not a unanimous vote, it would not have passed, would not have been action. Technically, the acceptance of the resignation is submitted to the town clerk, and it's effective upon submission, so it was somewhat of a formality, the last one, but the point is, a 3-0 vote is required for this board to take any action, whether it's the filling of these 2 seats or paying the bills at the end of the month. Okay? So, with that, as far as the appointments go, it is a board action. It is so it is if either of those seats are going to be filled, it's going to require a 3-0 vote. Now, as for designating, locating, identifying that person or these 2 people, that's entirely at the board's discretion. There's no limitation other than if the only real limitation is if somebody, it would be if somebody's already employed with the town or if there's some of a conflict of interest from another position. But otherwise, this is at the board's discretion.
You'd have to be a resident of Seneca.
Resident of Seneca Falls, yes. You have to be eligible to vote. You have to be eligible to vote in a town of Seneca Falls election.
Is there a time limit that you had to be a resident of Seneca Falls?
No, just you're eligible to vote.
Eligible to vote?
Yep.
So 18 years old?
18 years old, yes.
Okay.
That's it.
And it has to be, when we vote on a candidate, it has to be a 3-0
Yes.
majority.
So yes, and then if you did let's say you did one first, and then you have a 4-member board, the next vote can be 3-1, because you'll have 4 members. But initially, you need 3 board members to take action on anything.
My simple recommendation, we don't have to vote on this or anything unless we want to, unless someone makes a motion to vote on it, but I would think that a lot of interested people know about the resignations of the 2 board members, and seeing it, the criteria as a resident of Seneca Falls, who's eligible to vote.
Yes.
So the 2 go together. If you're
Yes.
not eligible to vote, you can't.
We're all familiar, although it is, some folks are surprised. The Seneca Falls Post Office has a pretty wide, casts a pretty wide net. There's plenty of folks who have a Seneca Falls Post Office who actually live and would vote for Town of Tyre elections, Town of Fayette elections. Vice versa, I believe Waterloo extends over into Seneca Falls a little bit. Those sorts of things. This is geography, based on the town borders and the election law. As far as identifying the correct person, it's like I said, it's at your discretion. I represent another town where they have a vacancy, and they're almost treating it as accepting applications and conducting interviews. Almost as similar as if it was an employee position. So that's just one way to do it.
Does this town board have the right to select the applications for interviews and not select some, not select some? It's up to us.
It's
how that interview process goes, if there is an interview process at all.
If there is at all, yes, it's entirely at this board's discretion. If whatever the 3 of you can agree on, there's otherwise no restriction.
Does that have to be, do all those, what we agree on, do all those rules have to be announced to the public? I mean, not that I'm hiding anything from the public, but there's a lot.
Not necessarily.
Do we have to conduct our deliberations in public? Do we have to open a special meeting of the board and then go into executive session and conduct those deliberations, or can we conduct those deliberations outside the purview of a meeting?
I would suggest that it would be eligible for an executive session, if that's how you wish to do it. It's an appointment, it's that person would be personnel, as you are.
Okay, but
So it is eligible for executive session if you wish.
It is eligible for executive session. Does it need a special meeting of the board and then go into executive session, or can we conduct those deliberations outside the meeting process?
Well, even executive session is a meeting. So typically even if everything you're going to do is in executive session, it would still be subject to the notice requirements for convening a meeting. However, part of that notice could also be, in addition, that we expect everything at this meeting to be conducted in executive session. We don't expect any action coming out of it. However, notice of the time and place is still required.
We have one outside, right?
Well, yeah, if the 3 of you, if the 3 of you are getting together to discuss public business, that's a meeting, and that should be noticed.
It's going to have to be all done, probably in executive session.
I would suggest whenever you're conducting something with personnel and you want to discuss whether it's with that person or without that person, discussing whether it's this is a unique situation, but work history, what other boards have they worked with, what life experiences, all those sorts of things, which don't necessarily, aren't necessarily fair to the person involved. For this to be at a public meeting, in a public session like this.
And we, in executive session, then, so you have 5 people that sign up. We do them individually as a, I know we do it individually, ask them the personal questions that we need to ask.
Sure. The only thing that's required to be in public session would be the final vote to make the appointment.
So it's Monday the 7th now.
These will be handed in to Nikki, the town clerk, anybody that's interested.
However you want to do it.
You want to have it that way?
It's fine.
If I can make a motion or...
Either by email or hand delivered or yours postal delivered. I would make a motion that they have to be delivered by noon on the 15th of March, which is a Tuesday. And so I would move that, my motion is that any applications can be received for the position of town board member, can be received by the town clerk until noon on the 15th of March. They may be received by email, first-class mail, or hand-delivered. UPS, if someone wants to, FedEx, I guess. Any way they deliver by noon on the 15th. So that's my motion. Okay, that'll be a second motion.
Make that motion.
Okay, I made the motion.
Oh,
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. My next motion would be that we meet on Wednesday, the 16th, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll be meeting to discuss these applications as a group. And make some decisions upon them. But we'll be discussing those in executive session, of course, but we will open up. We won't be making any decisions that night. This will be the first time we'll all as a group will be looking at those applications. We'll make some decisions, and then we'll meet again, if it's okay with everyone, on the 21st, which is a Monday. And from our deliberations on the 16th, we'll be either interviewing or making some appointments from there.
You got a conflict on the...
Oh, the 21st? Okay, what date would be good for you?
My wife is going into surgery on the 22nd. I got to be in Syracuse on the 21st.
Okay, is there a date that's... We can meet on the 16th. Well,
No, we're going to meet on the 16th.
we're going to meet on the 16th. Do you want to have... interviews on we can have interviews on a Saturday. I mean, that makes it wide open. You want, or further deliberations on a Saturday.
Saturday, 19th.
Saturday the 19th, and we can start that meeting at 10 a.m. Vic, is that okay with you?
Yes.
That'll be either to appoint or having interviews.
I thought the interviews were on the 16th.
Well,
16th was discussing applications.
yeah, discussing applications, and then we'll discuss them, and we'll ferret them out, and we'll decide which way to go from there, and then
special meeting on the 19th.
Special meeting at the 19th to either announce or interview candidates and then announce. And I think we can have everything set by the 19th. Would you agree? Rick? I don't think there'll be, we'll have a lot to read and decide, but I think we'll make that decision on the 19th. It's a Saturday, 10 o'clock. We have the whole day. Okay. Any other issues to come before this? Oh, you want to vote on that? On the 19th, special meeting on the 19th again?
I'll make a motion that we meet on the 19th.
I second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. I see a question from the press. They don't usually entertain questions from the press, but we have to keep good relations with the press, so I'm going to entertain this question.
Since these terms are different or staggered, not expired at the same time, they have to apply for a specific seat.
Okay, that's a very good question, Dave, and I had that on my agenda, but I forgot to ask that, so I'm glad you asked it. And as I understand it, and I'm going to explain it, and then you can tell me where I'm wrong or right, people are appointed till November, at which time there will be a special election in November. As I understand it, there could be as many candidates who want to run for those positions as want to run. All you have to do is get on the ballot. And then at that point, once the election is held, the person who receives the most votes will hold the term of Mr. Ricky's former term, because that's the longer term in years. That would be 3 years from November. The person who receives the second most votes would get the term of Mr. Sanderson, which would be a 1-year term at that point, because this is his 3rd year in office. Is that correct?
Everything except for the initial appointment would be for the remainder of this year, just as, if an elected term were coming due this year, it would be till December 31.
Okay.
And so the appointment's till December 31, the election will happen in November, and that, the results of that election take effect January 1, just as. So as far as the appointments, again, it's your discretion as to which seat, which each person is filling, and then moving forward, setting up the election as far as which seat is filled by, if there is the majority, the largest number of votes, getting the longest term certainly would seem reasonable, and that's how you want to set up. That would certainly be one way to do it.
Okay, now, someone also asked me the question, so I'll bring it up here, that do we have to wait till November, the election day in November, and I said, I'm not sure if we do, but I'd rather wait till the election day in November, because then we don't have to set up a special election, which there would be a cost to.
Yeah, and that's certainly a reasonable position. That's also consistent with the law, because yes, you do have to wait till November.
I didn't know the law.
Yeah, no, that's written in there that you wait till November for this, and it's a presidential year, it'll be an exciting election.
Okay. Any other issues to come before this board? Okay. Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second that motion. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. This meeting is adjourned.